IVM.
We would like to thank Storytel for sponsoring this show. Storytel is an audiobook platform that lets you hear hundreds of thousands of stories on your mobile, PC, wherever you prefer. This week I'm going to recommend a modern classic. It's a story that many have seen but few have heard or read. Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. The story is loosely based on the War of the Roses succession fights in 15th century England. When you hear Roy Dotrice narrate the story, it really brings it alive. Go to storytel.com/IVM and you'll be able to get your first month for 99 rupees. That's 200 rupees off the regular $2.99 a month price. That's storytel.com/IVM. Go get it now.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach Podcast, the bite-sized podcast filled with quick and easy actionable habits. Remember, great habits create that awesome life. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. And today's fun fact of the day has to do with the ancient Romans. This is my third year talking about New Year resolutions, and I thought I had covered all the interesting topics and facts about them. However, did you know that the reason why we celebrate New Year's in the middle of winter is because of the Romans? Think about it. The December end and January beginning New Year is smack dab in the middle of winter. Does that make any sense? Doesn't that seem weird? Not when the seasons are changing or anything like that. The middle of winter is when we run around wishing each other. And interestingly, even in the Roman times, the time around March used to be the New Year. And also, it was all over the world in different cultures. Either it's associated with springtime or the harvest season, which makes sense. Somewhere in the 1st century AD, the 1st of January became an auspicious day to give offerings to the god Janus. And Janus is where the word January comes from. Among that, it was customary for farmers to make an auspicious gesture and start on tasks that they intended to get done by the end of the year. Another form of New Year resolutions. And I've always loved giving myself New Year resolutions. I see them as a challenge for the whole year. My habit of reading was born from a New Year resolution. My exercise habit was born from a New Year resolution. And even my habit of constantly challenging my comfort zone was born from a New Year resolution. But the fact of the matter is that it is easier to make a New Year resolution than to keep it. It is so easy to say something on the spur of the moment. Unfortunately, most New Year resolutions are made this way. They're made with a goal in mind and nothing else to support it. Think about the New Year resolutions you've made in the past. Were they a systematic process or were they just wishful thinking? Resolutions get a bad reputation because of this reason. We try and make a dramatic change from the first of the month. It has to be a dramatic change because we have to tell our friends about it, right? They have to be like, wow, good job. Then we can't keep up with our lofty goals and we crash. And the resolution goes out the window. It was just wishful thinking. Instead, this year, I want you to make a different kind of resolution. I don't want you to make a challenging resolution, but I want you to pause and think about the kind of year 2021 should be. What are the aspects of your life that make you feel fulfilled? What makes you feel happy and makes you feel like life is worth living? I want you to double that. Create a life that is filled with positivity. These things don't become a struggle. The likelihood of being successful at these things is more. And as your habit coach, I want to show you that New Year resolutions are not about creating extremes. Instead, each New Year resolution incorporates something that you enjoy doing. Not as a reward, but as a part of the process. One of my clients got into the habit of reading by spending time with his daughter. They both would read together. He enjoyed spending time with her and she liked reading. Another client got into the habit of going for morning walks while listening to podcasts. She enjoyed podcasts and would use this time for listening to them. Another client started eating healthy by cooking her favorite dishes in a healthier manner. She loved cooking and loved experimenting. However, most of her experimenting had been with cakes and baked goods and brownies. This changed. It got rechanneled into food with better choices. You see, it is not about doing something extreme. It is about doing something with a vision for a life that you enjoy. Incorporate those moments that make you feel special, that make life feel special, as your resolutions. Finally, notice, none of their resolutions were goals, like finish 35 books in a week or walk 25 kilometers a day. Their resolutions were processes, and processes have a better chance of being achieved as resolutions. Because ultimately, all habits are processes. And I am genuinely excited for your next year. I would love to know what your resolutions are and how you'll make them using this technique. And there is no one simple habit for the day that I'm giving you this time. Instead, make all your resolutions into simple habits. So start these habits and share with us your progress using the hashtag #TheHabitCoach. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Once again, just a quick reminder, please do help us out by filling out our survey. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. It really does help us figure out who's listening and, what are the characteristics that we can go and push to advertisers. That is massively helpful to us. Please, please, please do help out with that. So, on the network this week, let me start with a quick milestone. It's the 100th episode of Begin the Journey with Ashish Vidyarthi. Congratulations to Ashish and the team. Great show. If you're not listening to it, he talks to you about just how to approach life. It's just very, very cool stuff. Do check this out. Want to mention the note with Maruk Inayat. She talks about why petrol prices are so high. On the Wire Talk, Siddharth speaks with Harsh Mandar. On Advertising is Dead, Varun speaks to Kabir Biswas, the founder of Dunzo. They have a really interesting conversation about, what's the future of Dunzo and what they're thinking about. On the Traveling Professor's Diaries, check out Siddharth talk about the performance paradox. I found it really fascinating and interesting. I think that you guys will really get something out of listening to that. Please do give that a listen. And finally, let me mention Zindagi Diaries. It's Ragini Kumar's poetry podcast. The first week when it came out, we put out 5 poems first week. We put out another 5 poems this week, and the response has been phenomenal. Do check it out. It's in Hindi. It's a poetry podcast. Something a little different. Do give it a shot and let us know what you think. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Hey, I'm Zarina, your peak performance coach, leadership coach, and life coach. And I'm here to unleash that power within you with your weekly dose of mantras and empowerment. Tune in to Monday Mantras every Monday for your quick fix, and the Empowering Series with Zarina Poonawalla every Thursday for riveting real-life stories. You can catch us on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.